How you doing there, guys? I don't know if you recognize me or not, but I'm looking fresh and clean right now. Unfortunately, Keith couldn't make it. We had a schedule issue. Um, but this is going to be our Week 13 weekend preview. Got a lot of good games here. We're getting towards the end of the season. A lot of these games are divisional games. They really mean quite a bit. First game on the slate is going to be Green Bay versus Chicago. This game really doesn't hold a lot of water right now. But we do have Justin Fields is going to be back for this game. Green Bay is going to be in a rough situation. I think this is going to be a rushing game for both teams. I think you're going to between both teams you're looking at probably over 300 yards on the ground. But you're going to have an issue in Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers came out in the last game hurt with some ribs and a wrist injury, and he's gonna be playing this week, but he's Bakhtiari's out. He had an appendectomy, so they're gonna be hurt on the line. I think the running backs might be able to get some yards out of it, but I think Rodgers is gonna have a tough time getting the ball out and being able to find guys open and the amount of time he's gonna have with fill-ins in there. On the other side of the ball here, again, Fields was out last week and it was kind of a game. But I took Chicago actually in this one. The upset, I took Chicago 24-23. I just feel like Chicago right now is just a more athletic team, which was odd to say. Again, and their defense somehow is working with this addition by subtraction thing. They shipped Quinn out, they shipped Roquan Smith out, and for some reason their defense has at least held fast, if not gotten better. So it's very interesting. It's interesting to see how that's working over there. Our next game on the 1 o'clock slate is Pittsburgh at Atlanta. Again, being who I am and wishful thinking, I'm taking Atlanta in this one. I took Atlanta 20-17 in this one. One of the things that's going to be a huge swing is whether or not TJ Watt can actually play. He's listed as questionable. He's going to be a game time decision. If he does play, it's going to be, again, our chances of actually pulling this one out are going to be even tighter. But without him in the game, it does give us a little bit of wiggle room. We do have an effective running game. Mariota's doing very well on the ground when he needs to. He's able to pick up yards. On the other side here, you have Pittsburgh. You have Pickett and Pickens. Deontay Johnson isn't getting the targets he probably should. Najee Harris is going to be a game time decision for this one as well. So there's a lot of question marks on the other side of the ball. But I'm hoping, again, it's pretty much going to be Atlanta's offense versus Pittsburgh's defense. If Watt's healthy, it's going to make a big difference as far as the way things go in this game. But in the meantime, I'm taking Atlanta off the rip. We really need these games. We have a softer schedule for the rest of the season than Tampa Bay does. And again, I think I brought it up before. We're going to be playing Tampa Bay Week 18. This might very well be for the division. And potentially the first time we ever beat Tom Brady if we do beat them. So it'd be for the division and to beat Tom Brady for the first time since Tom Brady's been playing football. Those all might be very important things come a little bit later down the slate. Our next game on the docket is going to be the Jets in Minnesota. I took Minnesota in this one, 37-31. The Jets are actually playing good football right now, defensively and offensively. Minnesota, at the same time, has one of the best records in football. And they're no slouches. They have really good offensive players over there. Jefferson's just going ape shit. And even if they put Sauce Gardner on Jefferson, the thing is they have other weapons at tight end, on other wide receivers. Thielen's over there. You had Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. They have a lot of weapons, and Kirk Cousins seems to really know how to use them, utilize them, and that defense is a top-notch defense. So it's on the other side again, the Jets are going to be starting Mike White again this week. He had a really great game last week. He came out and he had a great debut. He's going to be healthy and ready to play again this week. So I expect him to put some points on the board. I expect this game to be a little bit, upbeat, up pace. I saw that Michael Carter is listed as questionable or doubtful for this game. which means that you're going to see another rotation of running backs. James Robertson, Zach. I think it's Zach Knight. I'm not sure. Some Knight. He's one of these rookie guys. Stepped up. He really had a good game last week. Robinson was a healthy scratch last week. He's probably going to be suited up for this game, but I don't know how much time he's going to see. It really depends on I guess his productivity. I think the last time he was in a game, he had 10 carries, and I don't think he got 20 yards. So it is what it is. Hopefully, again, I think Minnesota's going to take this one. Not that the Jets aren't going to give them a good run for their money, but I think, again, we're looking at, I pulled a high score in this one, 37-31 Minnesota. Next game on this sheet is Jags in Detroit. This is a game where Detroit's coming in still a little banged up. They're not 100%. They're Jags coming off a great win last week. Trevor Lawrence really showed a lot of poise. The offense, the talent around him. Zay Jones had a really good kind of a breakout game. He was doing really good. Probably his best game of the season. They still have. This is a team that next year I feel like is going to be a very scary team, because now that they're past the Urban Meyer mess, with NTN healthy, and playing next year. Technically, this is kind of his rookie year. He was hurt all last year, so him, a year under his belt, and then Calvin Ridley coming in too. Depending on which Calvin Ridley they get, hopefully they get the guy that played in Atlanta for the first couple of years, and not the guy that we got the last couple of games. But I took Jags in this one, 24-21. Not to say that Detroit can't, Detroit might be able to muster up a win here. It is going to be, I think, a close game. Detroit does put points on the board. Problem is they also let up a lot of points on the board. And I just think the Jags, again, they seem like a team that's playing for something, if nothing else but respect. So I'm going to give the Jags credit on the nod on this one and say, hats off to Jacksonville. Good for you guys. Hope you guys get the win. Next game on the slate is Tennessee-Philly. This is actually a tough game, I think, because this is a game, I think, where Tennessee could beat Philly. But I also think Philly's one of the few teams that has the defensive front line to be able to contain Henry, possibly. I know Robert Quinn is listed as injured this week. Illness, I think it was actually. I'm not sure exactly. Either way, he's not. He's going to be. I think he's out for the game already or doubtful. But they also. This is a team that has Fletcher Cox. That just brought in Linval Joseph. Just signed Ndamukong Suh. That front line is pretty something to be worried about. These guys are contenders, and they're proving it. Phillies, still only has the one loss. They're coming to play. Hurts, does his job, but again, if they can contain Henry, I gave Philly the nod in this one, but I think it's, I gave a 27-24. But I think Tennessee is one of those teams that could, if Henry breaks out, Tennessee is one of those teams that could beat Philly. There's not a lot of teams left on Philly's slate that really could beat them, even in divisional games. Obviously with them being with one loss, they've definitely, bumped their way through most of these teams and still beat them. This is one of those, again, we'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts and what these guys can do. Miles Sanders is having a really good year rushing. He's ranked pretty high. They have some really good offensive weapons over there. We'll see what happens. But I give the nod to Philly in this one. Our next game on the slate is probably one that everybody's going to be watching, and not for the right reasons, but for the wrong reasons. This game is not very interesting. This is a Cleveland-Houston game, but everyone's going to be watching this game. This is probably the undesignated game of the week, because this game has been marked on calendars since preseason. This is going to be Deshaun Watson's first game back in almost a little over probably 2 seasons now. He hasn't played any real football in a very long time. Not only is he back for the first week, he's back against the team that he played for in Houston. So this is going to be a pretty interesting game here. Unfortunately, it doesn't change the team that Houston is. I know on Cleveland's side of the ball, Njoku is going to be out for this game again. But Houston is still a dumpster fire, probably the worst team in the NFL right now. So I'm going to have to say I took Cleveland in this one, 24-9. I do expect there to be a little bit of rust on Watson, but again, we're playing against the Houston Texans, so I really don't think that there's anything there to be concerned about. I don't think Mills is going to be starting again this week. I'm not exactly sure. I forgot the name of the guy who is starting over there, but I know Mills didn't start last week, and I don't expect him to start again this week. I think they're trying to find something. The problem is I just don't think anything's there. But it might be, it's time to hit the rebuild button and, do what we can to try to, they're going to solidify a top 3 pick in the draft with the way that they've been playing. So, again, going to be interesting. Let's see what Deshaun Watson does. I really hope if he does score a touchdown, his victory dance isn't a back rub. Because, that might be, a little too much for everybody. But at this point, again, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting no matter what, because there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about once the game's over. It's probably going to be one of the most analyzed games of the week, too. Next game on the slate is Washington versus the Giants here. This is one of those games that means a lot more than you think. It's a divisional game in a division that's very tough. Washington right now has beat a lot of good teams. The Giants, on the other hand, are playing very good football as well. I give the Giants a nod in this one, 20-15. Barkley, when he's playing well and he's a focal point in the offense, even without a dominant wide receiver at the moment, they still have a great chance at winning regularly because of his ability and Daniel Jones' ability to find the guys he needs to make passes and use himself. He's athletic. Again, this is a guy that when they drafted him, I kind of wasn't that high on him. I thought he was pretty much just Eli, 12 years younger. Again, so they were going to go through the same thing. And he's already proved that he's way more in the last couple of years and more athletic than Eli ever was. I think that they're, with Saquon healthy, they're a good team, and with playing a divisional game, I think the Giants are going to be able to pull this one out. But it is going to be a close game. I don't know. I think Chase Young is still questionable in this one. I think if he comes back and he's healthy at 100%, that definitely will make a difference. Could be the swing difference in the game. But again, I'm going to take the Giants for this one. Our last 1:00 game is Denver-Baltimore. And it's hard to really pick Denver at this point. Denver's averaging like 10 or 11 points a game. It's pretty disgusting. So I'm going to take Baltimore. Even though they're not looking very good, they are still winning some games. They definitely fell off from the play that they had the first couple of weeks. A lot of that has to do with, the last couple of receivers they had over there kind of falling out. Now they're counting on guys like Duvernay, who's really not showing up. Mark Andrews is, he's missed some games in those losses in the middle of the season. But I'm going to take Baltimore in this one, 24-10. I can't give Denver more than 10 because Denver doesn't score more than 10, which is a shame. I hope they'd prove me wrong. I wish they'd prove me wrong. Their defense is really good. The numbers are there for them on one side of the ball. They're just not there on the other. I don't know if this is just not the right fit for Russell Wilson. I don't know if this is him getting used to an entirely new thing after being in the same thing for so long. I hate to say that could really be a problem, but maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But I don't know what it is over there. I don't think this is an insanely rapid decline. You don't go from where he was a year ago to where he is now. There's got to be a reason for it. It just doesn't go away. It's almost like his talent disappeared overnight. This guy became Tim Couch in a week and a half. I just don't get it. it's Denver. I don't know what to say about them right now. So Baltimore in this one, with whoever they go running back, whether it's Kenyon Drake or whoever, I think Baltimore is going to do just fine in this one. The first game in our 4 o'clock games is probably one of the games of the actual games of the week. And this is Miami and San Fran. This is a game where a lot of people are going to pick the Niners in this one. I'm going with Miami. I'm going with Miami for a reason. People say the Niners have great defense, top 1 or 2 defenses. I don't agree with that. I think San Fran probably falls 3 to 5 in that bracket. And one of those reasons is San Fran has a great rushing defense. Really great rushing defense when they're all healthy and they're the teams. You also have to look back at the teams they've played this season. The running backs those teams have had. That makes a huge difference also. And on top of that, because their rushing yards on defense are so low, their overall yards are very low. But the fact of the matter is they do have a soft spot in their defense, and that is their passing game. Their passing game is basically average. That average passing game up against the Miami passing offense is going to have a real tough day. I'm taking Miami in this one, 27-19. I think that Miami's passing offense is going to still be able to have a very good game, and a lot of it has to do with the fact they have 2 of probably the top 6 or 7 receivers in the league, and Tyreek Hill, who's arguably 1, 2, or 3, depending on how you slice it. And then Waddle, who falls, in the next 3 bracket. These guys really have something over there. And Tua's doing really well. He's undefeated. He's got 3 picks on the season. I know the number would be higher if he had played more games, but you can't knock the guy for getting hurt. But at the same time, what you can do on the other side here is the Niners have a lot of weapons. I know Debo is questionable for this game, but they do have Ayuk, who's having a great season. They just lost Elijah Mitchell again, probably for the season. They put him on IR. I don't think they're going to rush him back. It's a knee problem again. Same one that he started off his season with. So clearly it wasn't ready. He wasn't healthy. It wasn't his time to get back on the field. So he did put up a couple stats for a few games, but I don't expect to see him back for the rest of the season now. Especially with McCaffrey in the backfield, there's no reason to rush him back. Because you forget at the same time, Debo can also play running back too if they need him to. So they have plenty of weapons over there. And Jimmy G's playing really good football. I think Miami's offense is going to be a little harder for the Niners to deal with than I think most people understand. They just look at that, the simple numbers, and you don't look at the depth of the numbers and what they really mean. And again, it's an offset. The defensive rushing yards are so low that even though the passing yards are average, the total yards make it look still like a very, very low number. And not that that's something you can't take any of that away from them, but you have to look at it realistically. You're going up against probably one of the best passing offenses in football, and not only they're fast, they're fast, they're very fast. So it's going to be interesting to see how it happens. Next game on the slate, another divisional game. It should have probably meant more, but it just doesn't. This is a Seattle game versus the Rams in LA. This is one of those ones. It's going to be Matt Stafford's out on IR with a neck injury and in concussion protocol. And, they've had so many problems this year. They never really got Allen Robinson going. So they never really replaced Beckham with him when they planned to. Now, Cooper Kupp went down. And, they've had problems with Cam Akers in the backfield and whether he was going to be on the team anymore, whether he was, going to be traded, whether they're going to keep him, what was going to happen. And there was all this, he wasn't traveling with the team, and now he is. Now he's on the field, now he's off the field. And it's just, they have, it's a roller coaster right now over there. This team is doing, unfortunately, pretty bad for a defending Super Bowl champion. On the other side of the ball, Seattle looks great. Seattle is doing amazing things over there. They're overachieving for a team. People remember last year, Geno Smith in the end zone looking at his hands like they betrayed him after, Just horrible turnover, and they couldn't believe they were going to go with Geno Smith and Drew Lock, for the season, and everyone had shaken their heads. And the fact of the matter is then they lost Chris Carson, had Rashad Penny step up. Rashad Penny got hurt, he went down. Now you're starting this Walker kid that nobody heard of, and all of a sudden he's doing amazing, and Lockett is probably one of the most dependable wide receivers in the league. Consistent there, great target, great hands. Metcalf is a top tier athlete. And Geno's been able to have a career year over there. So Seattle's very much a contender right now. And I took Seattle to win this one pretty convincingly, especially with Aaron Donald is going to be out as well in this one. So you're looking at, I'm going to take Seattle 31 to 14. I do expect Walker to have a pretty good game, especially with Donald out in this game. But we'll see what happens. It's still any given Sunday, but I don't really expect a bunch of backups to really blow Seattle out with the football that Seattle's playing right now. Next game on the 4 o'clock slate is the LA Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I took the Chargers in this one. I took the Chargers 27-24. The Raiders keep underachieving. They won last week in overtime, which was Jacobs had a career game last week, but that's not going to happen every week. And you got to you got to find this balance between Jacobs and the passing offense. And you got to Carr's got to step up and play like a better quarterback. Their defense is great. Max Crosby's going, having a career year. They've got the pieces. It just seems like they're still not working together. I know you took a hit when you lost Waller. He's still out, but you still have plenty of other guys over there besides Adams to get the ball to. But for whatever reason, it's just not there. Where right now, the Chargers, on the other hand, Herbert's playing really good football. They're fine. They got Keenan Allen back. Mike Williams might be back for this one. He's questionable. But their pieces are coming together. Austin Eckler has 80 catches out of the backfield, and he's rushed for a decent amount of yards. He's got double-digit touchdowns on the season right now. He's playing good. They're playing good offensive football. Their defense is still solid. This is a team that's doing well, and I'm kind of rooting for them. So I hope the Chargers take this one, go into Vegas and come out with a win. Our next game is probably again another one of those game of the weeks. This is a playoff rematch game of Kansas City and Cincinnati. I took Cincinnati in the upset in this one. Jamar Chase is supposed to be back this week, and they're going to look to use the hell out of him. I don't know if Mixon's playing or not. I think he's questionable. But I think Cincinnati's going to, Burrow needs Chase to win convincingly. They're a roller coaster without him, but when he's in there, they really, abuse the hell out of his, ability to play the game at a high level. So I picked them in the upset in this one, actually. I picked them in a close upset, 31 to 27. I do think, obviously, Kansas City's going to put some points up on the board. You can't really stop Mahomes and Kelsey. But even if they have great games together, I think that Cincinnati should be able to. I think I'm rooting for them to pull the upset out in this one. I very rarely pull for Cincinnati, but I just think analytically, when you sit back and look at it, I think Cincinnati's going to come back, lean heavy on Chase. And Chase is one of those players that has the ability. He's special. And, with him and T. Higgins over there, the two of these guys, if Mixon's even on the field for a little bit, these guys should do pretty well. The 8 o'clock game is Indy versus Dallas. This game, it's a shame that Jeff Saturday came in when he did because he's going up against a tough run of games here. This is a game, unfortunately, I really don't see Indy being able to win. Not that they don't, they're a bad team, but Dallas's defense is just really good, and their offense is clicking right now. I took Dallas to win this one, 31-21. I do think Indy can score. They have, Pittman's having a really good year still. Taylor's going to still go for over 1,000, even missing the games he was hurt with. He's going to have a good season. Matt Ryan, he's doing his best to hang in there. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't think this. I think unfortunately we're going to see the last of him this year. I don't know if he's going to play next year. I don't know if after looking at this season, if there's much to come back and play for, unless he's able to change himself physically, to get himself in a better physical condition to be able to play the game the way he is. So I just don't think Indy's going to be able to pull this one out against the Dallas defense. It's probably second or third in the league. If not arguably, you could make an argument that they're the best defense in the league. But it's this one's going to be a tough one for Indy to can't really root for them in this one. I apologize for you Indy fans out there. I apologize to Keith, but just don't see it happening. Our Monday night game is it's a divisional game, but again, it doesn't really mean too much. It's New Orleans versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I think, is going to take this one pretty convincingly. I think it's going to be. They're still not putting a lot of points on the board, so I'm going to take them 20-13. New Orleans just isn't really a good team right now. I don't know what. I know Michael Thomas, their situation, that saga, I think is going to end this year. I think that Michael Thomas is probably going to get dealt to another team. I think, they've leaned too much on him. Unfortunately, between the injuries of him and Jarvis, it's just not there. Olave's doing very well. Kamara hasn't been the back that he has normally. He hasn't had the receiving numbers he normally has. He hasn't put up, he's not putting up really good, backfield numbers right now. I know they have Winston on backup, standby. I don't know if it's time to switch him out and see what you can do. I don't know if there's much to salvage. They still might be able to contend with Tampa Bay for the division, and us as well. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen over there. But it's I don't know. Something's got to give in New Orleans at some point, and otherwise, Brady. It's tough to bet against him this time of the year. When he's playing for something, and right now they're trying to stay a game up on us in the division. If they really got to they got to win these games, to stay ahead. We'll see what happens there. Otherwise, that's pretty much our wrap up for football this week. Keith should be back with us for our weekend review. In the meantime, I hope we get to see some good football this week. Everybody have a good one, and we'll catch you later.